their apartment overnight.
Water reached here, and she was wondering what to do, but the door couldn't open.
The woman says her grandchildren are traumatized after the ordeal. Plus, commuters take note. The TTC has approved a 10-cent fare hike for April. And the Canadian men's wheelchair basketball team hosts Japan ahead of next year's Paralympic Games. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. An Etobicoke family lost everything early this morning and narrowly escaped from being electrocuted after water from a broken pipe outside rushed into their apartment, flooding the basement.
My daughter, she cried out, there's water in the house.
The family's escape is remarkable. Toronto Fire saying if it wasn't for their quick thinking, they could have died. Ali Chiasson has the story.
Split of a second. We didn't know what to do.
Opal Gilbert woke up to a nightmare.
My daughter, she wake up in 2 o'clock in the morning. She cried out, there's water in the house.
I woke up at 2 o'clock to use the washroom, but when I woke up, that's what I saw.
Water from a broken water main outside had been pouring into her bedroom window.
It was cold. The water was right here when I woke up.
She scrambled to unplug lamps, anything electrical, while she still could.
Then it came up. Yeah, so it was like a lot of water, and it's crazy.
She screamed to the others to get the kids and get out.
My kids, they're this small, right? If I should have put them outside, they would have drowned.
Eventually, the door burst open.
Never seen anything like this before. I was just running up and down what to do. The first thing I did was plug out the electrical stuff because I'm like, if I step in the water with the electrical stuff, I might die.
The grandmother, daughters, and grandkids all managed to escape through another window.
They're very lucky. Initially, there was just 2 units responding, but when they saw the magnitude of the flood, we had a full response. When we arrived, we couldn't even open the door because the water level was so high in the apartment that the pressure was keeping the door closed.
They are so traumatized right now. My grandkids are just crying. I see my kids' life in front of me just taken away from me.
They said the water main broke.
We've had numerous calls like this across the city with rising and lowering temperatures. It's, you know, thawing ice.
It's just unfair. Life.
As you can tell, the repair work is still underway. I'm told that the superintendent of this building managed to find the Gilberts another apartment inside to stay in for at least tonight. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, it is the third night without power for residents at 260 Wellesley Street, and they still don't know when things will improve.
No information so far. We are very frustrated. My children are already crying like they want to go back home. We try to go up there. It looks like dungeon. It's very scary to go upstairs.
I have to go stay at Buddy's house, right? It's too cold.
Well, tonight, city workers were handing out about 2,000 blankets at the building to keep residents warm. Problem started Tuesday night after a pipe burst in the basement. Water seeped into the 33-story apartment's electrical room, leaving residents without power, heat, or water ever since. And mornings like this on the TTC will soon cost you 10 cents a ride more. The TTC board approving a fare hike today, the same day that a signal problem at Museum Station led to major delays on the subway this morning. Even TTC board members were delayed getting to the meeting today, where they eventually approved the increase to the TTC's budget. If council approves it, fares will go up 10 cents a ride as of April 1st, meaning adult Presto fares will be $3.10. The adult cash fare remains $3.25. The RCMP has 2 people under arrest in Kingston tonight on what officials are calling a national security investigation involving multiple police forces. CBC News has learned the arrests included a minor and involved Kingston police and the help of the FBI in the U.S. We've also learned there is no imminent threat to public safety and that the situation is contained. The operation has not led to a change in Canada's threat level. The RCMP will hold a news conference tomorrow to provide more details. Back here in Toronto, plenty of concern about something we told you about last night. The Ontario government thinking about removing caps on primary class sizes. Tonight, both parents and the teachers' union are concerned the government's drive to save dollars could hurt quality. Chris Glover has that story.
At this kids' activity center, the rule for 4-year-olds is 8 kids for every 1 adult. Jennifer LeGros can't believe the current cap for kindergarten is 29 kids per class.
It's like surprising to me. I didn't realize that class sizes were that big.
Already to begin with?
Already to begin with, yeah. So I can't even imagine what it could be like when he goes in a couple years.
Even more shocking for her and the other parents here, class size caps for kindergarten and grades 1 to 3 could soon be gone.
I think there should be more teachers teaching, not less, and then adding more kids. That just sounds chaotic to me. That's what it sounds like to me, chaos.
It's way too many children per teacher. And I'm from Germany, and their class sizes are much smaller, and I'm hesitating to put my kids to the system because I just think it's way too many kids.
The class size conversation will investigate what could replace caps.
To me, that's just irresponsible and unsafe.
The Elementary Teachers Union fears going back to a system of averages when it comes to classrooms.
You got a classroom of 32 and a classroom of 20 with class averages. We know averages don't work. And that's why negotiations occurred to put caps in place in the first place. So we don't want confusion, we want consistency, and we want equity in our schools in Ontario.
This consultation comes as the PC government is trying to trim an overall deficit it pegs at more than $14 billion.
I want to hear from our education partners and how they feel about that, and we'll land at that final point together.
I think it's really appalling that the government would consider that students, that our children, are the ones that are going to bear the cost of their cuts.
But he's so happy you could have 50 of him in a classroom.
Yeah. I wouldn't want that.
Joking aside, Jennifer LeGros wants her government to know she's now doing her homework on the consultations.
These are our future, these are our kids, and we probably shouldn't mess with that. There's other pockets that they can kind of pick from.
The consultation document also points out that educator staffing makes up roughly 80% of the government funding that school boards receive. But the education minister says right now is just about listening and no decisions have been made. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Colin Kennedy's here with a first look at the forecast, talking about snow and cold temperatures. Not like this should come as a surprise in January in Canada.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's not like it's August, right? So, yeah, it all makes sense. And this is what we're looking at. Some of that cold air as it moves in, those winds will be picking up from the west to northwest. Because of that, we'll be driving some squalls across Lake Huron around Georgian Bay. So it's a snow squall watch that's in place, more so for tomorrow and tomorrow through the afternoon and evening hours as those winds get stronger. So in some of these bands, there is that potential, and they could be nearly stationary at times. So picking up 15 to 25 centimeters as those winds will be gusty and obviously visibility really reduced. And it is Friday, so wanting you to know if you're traveling in that direction or coming from that direction towards the city. Otherwise, what's ahead for the city, for the GTA, is that we'll be seeing kind of a mix of sun and cloud, but we'll get some flurries coming in off those squalls. They'll make it all the way to the city, but we're not talking about accumulation. So at times vacillating through that, we'll have that scattered flurry activity. That's through the day and evening tomorrow. Overnight tonight, that cold air -8, but feels like -15. Tomorrow afternoon, probably early afternoon, we'll struggle to that -6. Those winds still strong, giving very severe wind chills and, yes, those scattered flurries. More on this cold air and how long it's sticking around and looking at the weekend coming up, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The Tokyo Paralympics are still another year away, but with qualifiers this summer, Canada's men's wheelchair basketball team is already busy training. They played an exhibition game against Japan in Scarborough today. And as our Taylor Simmons tells us, beating that team is a key test on Canada's journey to goal.
With several World Championship and Paralympic medals under their belts, needless to say, Canada's senior men's wheelchair basketball team is really good. This team has gone to the podium every Paralympics for almost 2 decades. That is, until Rio in 2016. A loss against Japan in the preliminaries ended any hope of a medal. And now, the team is planning their comeback.
We had a lot of these young players in Rio, and it was a tough experience. You know, it's taking young players like that. More than half the team were rookies going in. But we knew it's a process to rebuild. It takes time. And what we're starting to see now is, you know, the benefits of taking the time to do things properly.
One big change bringing back veterans like Patrick Anderson, widely known as one of the world's best wheelchair basketball players.
You know, I'm 39, but I'm pleasantly surprised that personally I can kind of bring it when I have to, even if I'm feeling a little bit of fatigue. And a result in Rio and a result at Worlds was humbling. But, you know, we need to recover some of our swagger, what makes us special as Team Canada.
His presence a comfort to rookies like Liam Hickey. The 2016 Games marked his first Paralympics.
I think he has a tremendous amount of experience, and he's such a nice guy that he takes a lot of people under his wing and kind of teaches everybody else what he's learned.
He's kind of a mentor, yeah, definitely, yeah.
From the stands, Anderson's dad has a guess at his son's secret.
Determination. Yeah, he was, you know, he wouldn't never say quit. He'd be all the way, 100%.
And the team showed it tonight with a symbolic win over Japan. Paralympic qualifiers take place in Peru this August, and Anderson believes the team will be ready.
I think we have the talent to put in a few, get some victories like this under our belt and start really believing that we have the potential, not just to show up and have a chance at a medal, but be that team.
Taylor Simmons, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, this looked like a slick jacket online, and good news, it was on sale. But for this Toronto man, what he actually got, well, you have to see to believe. We'll have that show and tell coming up later. Well, Toronto's police budget has once again passed the $1 billion a year mark. The police board approving a $30 million increase in order to hire more uniformed officers.
I think that most of the people of Toronto, in fact, I would say the vast majority, will strongly support the fact that we are going to put more people on the street, hire more police officers, hire more special constables, put more resources into the hands of the police.
Now, it's still up to council to approve the new money. As the mayor said, it'll go towards hiring 300 more uniformed officers. That's on top of 200 hired last year. And this is police video from Georgina. Police responding to a woman whose car went off the road and collided with a tree. She's been arrested and charged with impaired driving. Now, what's more, she had a baby and a puppy in her car at the time. The accident left debris, including a stroller, scattered across the road. The baby and puppy were turned over to family members. Well, two men behind the controversial Toronto newspaper Your Ward News have been convicted of promoting hatred against women and Jews. Even with the conviction, the pair says they have no plan to stop. Farah Morelli has the details.
Outside of provincial court today, a victory declared by opponents to a controversial Toronto paper.
He said this was unrelenting, unmitigated hatred. It took him 2 minutes to say guilty. And it's about time, and it's the type of verdict I think that Canadians are going to rejoice in.
So you need to look at all of Your Ward News to see how homophobic and anti-Semitic and racist and misogynistic it is.
Today, an Ontario court judge found James Sears and Leroy St. Germain guilty of willfully promoting the hatred of Jews and women.
The judge clearly laid that out today, that misogyny will not be tolerated. I am so pleased.
The controversial paper started showing up on East Toronto doorsteps. It's included content that promotes the legalization of rape and the glorification of Nazis. The federal government has barred Canada Post from distributing it. In the judgment, Justice Richard Bloom said both men were fully aware of the unrelenting promotion of hate in Your Ward News. Hatred of Jews and women was overwhelmingly the message. He even cited the Toronto van attack as an example of the dangers of hate speech, saying the preeminent concern that hate propaganda could contribute to violence is starkly relevant today. Sears compared himself to Jesus today and said he has plans to challenge the decision.
This is the legal system in Canada. I'm a proud Canadian. I respect the legal system, and we're going to appeal.
Though the judge found that the paper is actively promoting the hatred of women and Jews, there was no order for it to stop publishing. The paper has an estimated circulation of about 300,000 in the city of Toronto and remains online.
The judge, he in this case, he is not in a position to make any assessment about what might happen in the future.
This legal expert in freedom of expression says criminal law punishes for past behavior, meaning the judge in this case doesn't have the direct power to stop the paper from printing.
If they continue their behavior, a new prosecution can be brought, and they would be at risk of a more serious penalty as a consequence of that. So it would be a pretty serious risk if they were to continue this behavior that was determined to be unlawful.
Despite that, the pair says they have no plans to change what they do.
So just to be clear, it doesn't sound like you're going to be changing anything about the publication.
Do I look like the type of guy who changes anything about anything? No.
They're slated to be sentenced in April. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Imagine how many people are being taken advantage of by companies like this that are really, spending money and spending good money and getting quality like this that they can't even wear.
It is a warning for all online shoppers. What you see isn't always what you get. We'll have that story coming up.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Tom. Well, a lesson tonight about that phrase, buyers beware, concerns this men's overcoat. No, it's not mine, but I did try it on. It belongs to a Toronto man who responded to a social media ad promising a great deal at a great price. But as he tells our Greg Ross, what he actually got was even worse than he could imagine.
Thomas Hargitay says lately his social media pages have been flooded with advertisements offering great deals.
I saw this ad on on Instagram, and I thought, okay, well, let's see what it's about. Everybody.
An ad for a men's overcoat, which looked too good to be true. It was on sale for only $39.98.
I thought, hey, you know what? For that price, let's see what we're gonna get, right? Okay.
So this is the jacket that they sent you?
This is the jacket that they sent.
He says he went in with low expectations, but this jacket didn't even meet those.
If I actually bend my arms, the lining starts to rip on the inside.
Don't wreck the jacket.
No. And you can clearly see the lapel pocket is just a strip of material that's being sewn on.
We took it to one of Toronto's leading men's clothiers to see if this jacket is actually as bad as it seems.
It's abomination.
Turns out it is.
Obviously, one, the fabric is horrible, and then two, these details are done very sloppily. And then obviously, whoever's making it doesn't potentially have that much knowledge of like what modern menswear is. They wouldn't pick these buttons. And
there's nothing I could do that would get you to try this on.
No, there's absolutely nothing.
Hargitay has looked into returning the jacket, but says it's proving to be more of a headache than it's worth. He can afford to eat the cost, but what about people who can't?
Imagine how many people are being taken advantage of by companies like this.
This online retail expert says it's pretty common.
Yeah, we see these websites popping up more and more. Products are sourced from various places, as I said, so the retailer never actually knows what they're getting. In some cases, they could just take a photo of what they'd like to sell and then source photos from somewhere else.
She says it's always a good idea to look for reviews for the product you are purchasing, but they can't always be trusted either.
Quality good. Shipped very good quality.
The website Hargitay bought his jacket from had 33 glowing reviews.
It's a little bit robotic, it's a little bit generic. It's not really giving any information or any real tips about the actual product itself.
So it's almost an indication that those are fabricated.
That's right. A great thing to do is to just do a quick Google search of the company name with something like problem or bad to generate the right SEO results for what you're looking for.
Stephen says it's always better to buy from reputable companies and to make sure to review their return policies. As for Hargitay, he says he's going to make the best of his new jacket.
Wow.
I'm going to wear this out this weekend, Greg.
You're going to wear that out this weekend?
I'm going to wear this out this weekend.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette's back with our extended forecast. I know we've got some cold air coming in for this weekend, but I think after last weekend, we're all toughened up. We're used to the cold now. We can handle anything, right?
I know. I guess it's like you feel like you get toughened up, and then we get one of those respites where you have a day, you know, like yesterday with mild temperatures and rain, and then you got to strengthen yourself again for what's coming. So it is going to be a cold weekend. Average height this time of year, -2.4. The average low is about -11 degrees. It's not just the temperatures we're talking about, though. It's the wind chills, because we are going to be seeing strong winds from the west, northwest, picking up tonight, but more so through the day on Friday, you'll notice it. So that'll be driving some of the squalls coming off of Lake Huron and especially around Georgian Bay, and that potential then where some areas could pick up some significant accumulations. Some of these flurries, though, are going to make their way down into the GTA and kind of move back and forth. So say scattered flurries, we shouldn't see accumulations, although as some of the squalls will be nearly stationary, there's the potential you'll have an extended period of seeing a bit of flurry activity. But then things kind of moving out for Saturday, it looks like quite a bit of sunshine. Those winds will back off. We'll still have wind chills, but they won't be as strong, and the direction changing a little bit, so changing what happens with the squalls. But the watch is in place for tomorrow, where some of the potential could be 20-25 centimeters, and certainly reduced visibility if you are going to be doing some traveling as we are heading into the weekend. Overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario, -12, slightly milder for London, -10 with those scattered flurries. And look at the temperature tomorrow hardly changes whatsoever, even into the afternoon hours. So nearly steady. Should get some sunny breaks in there, but again, that potential for flurries. Overnight tonight for the GTA, we're looking at -8 to -10. Few flurries are possible. Otherwise, it's partly cloudy skies tonight. And then tomorrow afternoon, this is a look at where the temperatures are going. So it's actually going to feel like we're more -10, -15. It's not going to even feel this warm. Hard to call that warm, but you know what I mean. So there you are after Friday night into Saturday. So waking up Saturday morning, a chilly one at -13. Saturday's high only -9. Now we should have that sunshine, but Saturday night into Sunday, light snow is possible, then flurries for the day on Sunday. And Monday into Tuesday, we could get some measurable snow and looking at perhaps 10 to 15 centimeters, but that's getting a little further out there, Mike.
All right, okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
No problem.
Well, if you bundle up, this could be a good weekend for some outdoor winter sports like skiing or skating. But if you want to do some tobogganing, you're going to have one less spot available in Toronto. The city closed Riverdale Park East to winter thrill seekers this week. The spot overlooking the DVP was arguably one of the best toboggan spots in Toronto. But the city is now posting warnings in the park and online that the terrain has somehow changed, that the hill is now too hilly, with severe ridges and drops that could result in injury, but no doubt launch some tobogganers as they head down that hill. Well, don't worry, Toronto still has at least 27 other locations for tobogganing. You can find them all mapped out on the city's website, toronto.ca. That's our newscast for tonight. We're actually preempted tomorrow night so that CBC can bring you the NHL All-Star Game Skills Competition from San Jose. That's starting at 9 o'clock. I'll see you again on Monday. Good night.